Level 989.
Welcome to a 989 on Health Extra. These quick supplements should help ease any withdrawal symptoms you may experience while waiting for our next full episode. So, Mike, what's on today's agenda?
This week we're looking at a disease called Toxoplasmosis, which can cause many interesting symptoms in humans and is typically associated with cats, though as we'll get to, the cat connection may have been hyped up a bit more than deserved. Toxoplasmosis is caused by a parasite named Toxoplasma gondii, which is a weird little critter, most technically an obligate intracellular parasitic alveolate. Breaking that down, obligate means that, as parasites, they can't reproduce if they're outside of their desired host. Intracellular means inside the cell. Parasitic means it takes and it doesn't give back. Think of malaria, sleeping sickness, or dysentery. They can all make you very sick or dead in the course of sapping your resources and the side effects that come along with that. An alveolate is a weird group of earthlings. They're complex enough to have a nucleus in their cells, but they're not plants, they're not animals, and they're not fungus. They're their own weird thing. Now, the way I've most often heard toxoplasmosis mentioned is in relation to women. It turns out that women, especially pregnant women, should not handle cat waste, especially cat poop, to cut the risk of contracting and then passing on the parasite to the unborn child, which could cause diseases of the nervous system and the eyes in the child. Now, we mentioned toxoplasmosis in passing a few weeks back in episode 69, when we were talking about the Lone Star tick causing meat allergies in humans. I mentioned that the meat allergy was probably an odd, unintentional side effect. Just like the Lone Star tick, toxoplasmosis does not want to be in a human. Even more so, really, since toxoplasmosis can only reproduce inside a cat. One of the most powerful biological imperatives that earthlings have is the drive to reproduce, and toxoplasmosis in a human has almost certainly met a dead end for its lineage. Unless you die and your beloved Maine Coon Miss Mittens eats your face, that toxoplasmosis is stuck in your body. According to the Centers for Disease Control, in the United States, it is estimated that 11% of the population, 6 years and older, have been infected with toxoplasma. Now, I'm not sure how to look up the number of people over age 6 in the United States, but let's just round the population of the U.S., currently estimated at about 327 million, down to 300 million people. So 11% of 300 million is 33 million. So let's say 33 million people in the United States have a toxoplasmosis infection. What does that mean? What does it do to you? Well, as I mentioned, you don't want to pass it to your unborn child. I'm going to refer to the CDC again. Symptoms are always a bit variable depending on the person, but many folks are infected and just have no idea. Initially, you might feel as if you have the flu, swollen lymph glands, muscle aches, and these symptoms might last a month or more. You might experience reduced vision, blurred vision, eye redness, and tearing. You know, it's a good thing I researched beyond the scope of the Centers for Disease Control. Parasites are weird. They make those infected with them change their behavior. There have been studies researching how toxoplasmosis changes a person's personality. I'm going to paraphrase one of these articles since it gets pretty technical. Be sure to check the show notes for the link if you want more detail. Toxoplasmosis appears to affect men and women differently. Infected men were less likely to follow rules, were more alert for possible danger, more likely to accomplish goals in an the ends justify the means approach, and were more suspicious, jealous, and uncompromising. The personalities of infected women, by contrast, were more warm-hearted, outgoing, conscientious, persistent, and moralistic. Both men and women had significantly higher apprehension compared with uninfected people. There are also studies that indicate that the supposed impaired impulse control from toxoplasmosis results in traffic accidents. Some studies even link toxoplasmosis and schizophrenia. As with any theory or correlation, there are studies that demonstrate a link between changes in behavior and toxoplasmosis, and other studies that demonstrate there is no connection. Testing something like personality changes is extremely difficult. There are some answers that were just never going to get unless we were to, I don't know. This is where things get all science fiction-y. But you'd have to take a bunch of twins at birth, put them in two separate, identical environments, and the only difference is Group A is healthy and Group B has a Toxoplasmosis infection. And now let's run the test for the next 100 years and see what happens. It's not really something you can do. Okay, back to the real world. How can you avoid getting Toxoplasmosis? Well, don't run out and buy hazmat gear to wear while you're scooping the cat's litter box. Most transmission of Toxoplasmosis actually comes from undercooked or undercleaned food. So, raw and undercooked meat, unwashed fruits and vegetables, interaction with the soil in your garden, unfiltered or untreated water, unpasteurized milk, particularly goat's milk, and eating raw seafood. You might notice that the word cat never came up during that long sentence just now. On the cat angle, if you scoop a cat's litter box every day and wash your hands, you have very little to worry about. How would you get diagnosed as having a Toxoplasmosis infection? Well, you would get a blood test. There's a lot of complicated tests that they would do on your blood, but I'm just going to leave it at blood test. As for treatment, unless you've already got a compromised immune system, say due to something like HIV, your doctor probably won't recommend doing anything about your Toxoplasmosis. If they do choose to treat you, the drugs will be certain anti-malarial compounds and some of the stranger, less frequently used antibiotics. Now, some of these have side effects that are, in my average Joe opinion, worse than the symptoms of Toxoplasmosis itself. As always, there are lots of useful links in the show notes. Be sure to check these out for more details. Thanks again to our great listeners for sending in suggestions. If you'd like to send in your own topic for consideration, head on over to level989.com/contact and make it so.
That's all for now. You can find links to read more about today's topics at level989.com. Why not take a moment to rate or review us in iTunes, or give us a mention on social media? We can't help everyone if they don't know we exist. Don't rely on us as an alternative to medical advice from a professional healthcare provider. For the full disclaimer, please see our website. Thanks for listening, and now, go health yourself.